So instead of going over each one of these, I will go over them in depth on the backup and perhaps copy jobs. The one exception to all of these being the same is the Management Server tab. This is the only place that this tab shows up. In another video, I covered what the Management Server was and what the Management Service did. To give you a brief overview, it gives us the ability, if this is enabled, to see to create backup jobs, to create restore jobs, to look at the client-side logs. It doesn't give us any access to your machine, but it does give us access remotely to the backup client, which is it's a good feature. We can see the client logs, and a lot of times we can make recommendations on how to troubleshoot a problem a lot better by being able to see those without having to interrupt you. If you do not want to take advantage of this, there is a way to disable that by going into the services GUI and look for the backup client agent service, and you can stop that or you can set it to disable. It's up to you if you don't want to participate in that. But it's the backup client agent service. It's installed but disabled by default when you install the application. When you install the application, there's a little checkbox that you can check that enables the service. But this is where you would see where that's going. This is pre-populated all by itself. You don't have to do anything to populate this. It's going to be populated by itself. All of the rest of the tabs are going to be covered in just a sec. I'd like to take a couple minutes to explain some of the general overviews of the backup tab. We're going to spend some time here in the you need to have a license for each named machine that you want to back up. So if you have two machines on your network and you want to back up data from both of those machines, you need to either have a license for each one of those machines, or you need to figure out a way, and the BlueSky client can help you do this. You need to get a way to copy data from one machine to another and then back up that from that one account. In other words, you copy data from machine A to machine B, and then you would have the backup client installed on machine B, and then you would back that up online from machine B. That way you only have to use one license. You can also, in some cases, we've seen it work where, say you have a Linux or an Apple machine. Currently we don't have a client for either one of those, but if you had a Linux box, for example, that you wanted to back up data, you could install the BlueSky client on a Windows machine, and then again, using one license, you could back up data across the network off of that Linux machine. Now, in order to have one license, you cannot back up any data that lives on the Windows machine. What the license does is it looks at the machine name, and if you've got one license, then it's going to let you back up one machine name. The first machine that backs up is the one that wins that license. Let's say you install the client on two machines, but you only have one license. You click the backup button at the same time on both of the machines. Whichever one gets to the data center first is the one that snags that license. If you made a mistake, give us a call with support. We can help you. We can help you fix that. But it's the first one in that gets the license. A gotcha that we've recently discovered is backing up a backup. The BlueSky client has the ability to back up files locally. In other words, I could back up my computer to another hard drive or another USB drive it's plugged into my computer. We've seen that if you then try to back up, use the online backup as a device, and then back up that backup, if that made sense, we've seen where that can cause some problems with the client remaining connected to the data center for a while. It has to do with the file types and the data structure in it. But just kind of be aware that the best practice is to access the data that you want to back up directly. In other words, if you're trying to back up, this programs file here, in each job that you want to back up, you want to access the programs file. You don't want to access a backup of the programs file, at least not a backup that the BlueSky client makes or is going to be making on a daily basis. Just kind of a gotcha that you want to kind of keep aware of there. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that you want to exclude, and this doesn't cause a problem in all scenarios, but you want to exclude the cache files, the device cache, the system cache, and the BlueSky program files. You want to exclude those from any kind of antivirus scans. If you do a scheduled scan at a time when the backup client is not running, that's fine. If you're doing real-time scanning, or you have a scheduled job that scans any of those files when the backup jobs are running, we have seen cases where that gets that can mess things up. So you want to exclude or take precautions to not let those two things happen at the same time, and you want to definitely disable the real-time scanning from the cache folders. And just in case you did not see the video on the device, to get to the cache folder, select the Device tab, double-click on your online device, and go to Advanced. And this is the folder that you definitely want to exclude from your antivirus scans. The second file that you can exclude is the Home tab, Default Settings, and then Advanced Options. This is the second file that you want to exclude from your antivirus scans. The data in there is set such that it's not susceptible to being an active virus. So I feel pretty safe in recommending that those guys be excluded from the scans. You could definitely do a scheduled scan to them, but the real-time scan can cause problems. You also don't want to back up a mapped drive. If you go in, let's say you've got a mapped drive somewhere on your computer, it maps to another drive on another machine. Like here, I've got this one is a folder on a NAS box, my Z drive. I don't want to back that up. It's not connected currently, but the reason being is that if you're not logged into your computer, then that mapped drive is not going to exist. The mapped drive only exists when you are actively logged into your PC. The way you could get around that if you needed to back up something across the network is to search down through the network places and find it that way. You'll also want to make sure that you exclude the cache files from any backups that you do. For example, in this case, we've got the BlueSky device cache and the BlueSky system cache. If we had selected those, and we would be backing up our cache files, and you could see how that could kind of grow exponentially. Your backup set would get rather enormous. So if you are backing up a lot of stuff on your hard drive, if you just select your hard drive by default, which isn't a good idea, you would definitely want to uncheck those guys and make sure that those aren't being backed up.